Tehran cannot be trusted to keep its promises in any new nuclear deal. This is not a starting position for debate. It is the only rational conclusion drawn from a forensic audit of their behavior, an unbroken chain of deception spanning decades. Trust is the fundamental currency of any agreement, the invisible glue that holds its clauses together. With the Iranian regime, that currency is counterfeit. We are not dealing with a state that has occasionally strayed from its obligations. We are confronting a systematic, strategic, and masterful practitioner of diplomatic fraud. Their entire foreign policy architecture is built on a simple, cynical formula: promise, collect, violate, and renegotiate from a stronger position. To understand the lethal folly of trusting them now, we must first dissect this formula, this proven pattern that forms the unshakable bedrock of their strategy. The foundation of this pattern was laid in plain sight. They are a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, binding themselves to forego the pursuit of nuclear weapons. Yet for over 2 decades, they conducted a clandestine nuclear weapons program, amassing knowledge, materials, and infrastructure in the shadows. This was not a minor breach. It was the foundational lie upon which all future lies were built. Every discussion, every negotiation has started from a point of their deliberate, knowing violation of their most basic international commitment. When confronted by the world, they did not come clean. They perfected the art of concealment, building fortified enrichment halls deep underground and hiding facilities within military compounds, a physical manifestation of their duplicity. This pattern reached its apex with the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the deal hailed as a new dawn. The regime secured its ultimate prize, a tidal wave of sanctions relief, over $100 billion in unfrozen assets, and reintegration into the global economy. In return, the world received promises and temporary technical restrictions. The immediate return on this global investment was not peace or moderation. It was a direct, measurable surge in regional aggression. Billions of dollars were funneled into the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force, financing an expansion of terrorist proxies, arming Hezbollah to the teeth, enabling Houthi missiles to target civilian infrastructure, and embedding militias across the Middle East. The financial windfall from the deal did not buy compliance, it funded belligerence. But the betrayal was even more profound at the core of the agreement itself. While their diplomats smiled in Geneva, their scientists and security officials were safeguarding the crown jewels of their weapons program. In 2018, the world saw irrefutable proof. A daring operation secured half a ton of material from a secret Tehran archive, the regime's own meticulous files. This was not raw intelligence or speculation. It was their internal library, detailed blueprints for nuclear warheads, records of experiments on high-explosive triggers, and plans for an integrated weaponization program. This archive proved conclusively that their clandestine program, which they repeatedly denied ever having, was structured, advanced, and purposeful. They had lied, not just about minor infractions, but about the very existence of a weaponization effort. Furthermore, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the world's watchdog, has consistently been stonewalled. They have found traces of undeclared nuclear material at sites Tehran never acknowledged. They have posed critical questions about past activities that remain unanswered. The regime's response is a masterclass in obstruction. They provide fabricated documents. They sanitize sites before inspectors arrive. They deny access to key scientists. And they intimidate the very officials tasked with uncovering the truth. This is the architecture of their deception. It is a complete closed loop. They enter an agreement to extract maximum economic and political benefit. They then violate its spirit and letter, both in its regional aggression and its technical nuclear cheating. When caught, they obfuscate, delay, and create new facts on the ground. More advanced centrifuges, higher enriched uranium, greater regional entrenchment. They then demand new negotiations to address the crisis they manufactured, aiming to secure relief from the pressure their cheating provoked, all while retaining the gains of their violations. It is a perpetual motion machine of bad faith. Their signature is not a bond. It is a tactical pause, a receipt for concessions received, with no intention of being the receipt for concessions given. To sit across from them now and treat a new document as a fresh start is to willingly forget this entire history. It is to declare that evidence is irrelevant, that patterns have no predictive power, and that the sworn testimony of their own archive files is meaningless. We are not negotiating with a partner seeking reconciliation. We are negotiating with a proven strategic adversary who views treaties not as binding covenants, but as disposable tools in a long-term campaign for dominance and immunity. The first step in any realistic strategy is to stare this pattern in the face and accept its brutal, unambiguous lesson. Their word is worthless. Any agreement that does not start from this unassailable truth is built on a foundation of sand, destined to collapse under the weight of their next, inevitable betrayal. Given the irrefutable evidence of their duplicity, the only logical path forward would be to impose demands of such severity and verification that they shatter the regime's capacity to cheat. Instead, we stand at the precipice of doing the opposite. We are negotiating to legitimize the very gains their cheating achieved. This is the final, most dangerous phase of their strategy. The talks resuming are not about preventing a nuclear Iran, they are about managing the world's acceptance of a nuclear-capable Iran. We have moved from prevention to containment, and we are failing even at that. The regime has executed a breathtaking technological sprint while shielded by diplomatic processes and Western hesitation. They have weaponized the negotiation timeline itself, using every moment of discussion to advance their program, knowing that the world's desire for a deal often outweighs its commitment to the actual terms. The breakout is not an event on the horizon. It is the current status. The point of no return is not a future date. It is this room, this table, this document being drafted right now. Let us examine the chilling facts they have manufactured. While diplomats were shuttling between capitals, Iranian scientists were spinning centrifuges. Today, the regime holds a stockpile of uranium enriched to 60% purity. For perspective, civilian nuclear power requires enrichment of 3 to 5%. Weapons grade is 90%. They are not merely in the neighborhood of a bomb, they are on its doorstep, key in hand. They have accumulated enough of this highly enriched material, if further processed, for multiple nuclear devices. They are operating thousands of advanced centrifugers, models like the IR-6 and IR-9, which are far more efficient and faster than the primitive machines they were permitted under the old deal. They have mastered the entire fuel cycle. The critical metric is breakout time, the span required to produce enough weapons-grade fissile material for one bomb. Under the 2015 agreement, that was estimated at over a year. Today, it is measured in weeks, perhaps even less. They have not just reduced this timeline, they have annihilated it. They exist in a state of permanent nuclear latency, a sovereign decision away from final assembly. This transformed reality changes the fundamental equation of negotiation. We are no longer bargaining to dismantle a program. We are bargaining over how many of their illicitly gained advantages they get to keep. A weak deal now, driven by a desperate desire for a diplomatic fig leaf, would constitute their ultimate victory. It would accomplish 3 catastrophic strategic surrenders. First, it would trigger another massive sanctions relief package, a multi-billion-dollar bailout for a regime on the economic brink. This capital would not go to the suffering Iranian people. It would be seized by the Revolutionary Guards as a direct transfusion of funds to their terrorist proxy network, to their ballistic missile program, and to the internal security apparatus that crushes domestic dissent. We would be financially underwriting both their regional aggression and their domestic oppression. Second, a weak deal would inevitably lock in their current advanced capacity. Any agreement that fails to forcibly and verifiably roll back their uranium stockpile to zero, dismantle their advanced centrifuges, and shutter their underground facilities is an agreement that sanctifies their breakout status. It would grant them international legitimacy as a nuclear threshold state. The knowledge, the machinery, the material, all would remain, frozen temporarily by a paper agreement that will inevitably expire. When it does, they would erupt from the starting line already at the finish line. Third, and most perilously, it would grant them a nuclear umbrella of impunity. Possessing the clear, rapid capability to build a weapon, and with their economy reinvigorated by sanctions relief, the regime would be emboldened beyond measure. Every act of terrorism, every missile launched at neighbors, every cyber attack, every seizure of ships would be conducted under the unspoken but understood shadow of their latent bomb. The message to the region is clear: submit. The inevitable result would be a frantic, destabilizing nuclear arms race as Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, and others move to secure their own deterrent, transforming the Middle East into a powder keg of multiple nuclear rivalries. Therefore, this negotiation is not a path to peace. It is a trap. It is designed to lure the West into accepting a horrific new status quo, to exchange temporary superficial restrictions for permanent existential danger. The regime's goal is not a compromise. It is amnesty for their violations and a reward for their aggression. To walk into this trap, to offer concessions based on the hope that this time they will be honest, is an act of strategic suicide. It ignores the proven pattern of their lies and rewards the terrifying gains of their sprint. The only credible posture is one of unrelenting maximum pressure, not to bring them to the table for a bad deal, but to force a fundamental choice upon the regime: the complete, verifiable, and irreversible dismantlement of their nuclear weapons program, or the total economic and political collapse of their theocratic state. There is no middle ground with a player who has mastered the art of cheating in the gray zones. The time for managing their advances is over. The only objective now must be to reverse them. The clock has already run out on diplomacy as usual. What remains is the stark clarity of will.